Hello everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Today's video, solve.care, S-O-L-V-E, solve on the exchange. Guys, I haven't covered this project in some time. If you need an introduction to this, do check out the intro video. I'll leave it at the end of this one. Couple of reasons I'm bringing this to back to the forefront of our minds, mainly chart related, but a very quick reminder about the aspect of healthcare when it comes to blockchain technology. Now, solve.care has been around for a couple of years now, or a few years now, very heavily focused on a multitude of different elements of healthcare. Okay, so this really relates to a point that I made, I remember, in one of the last videos I did on Solve, and this was to help people potentially in like remote areas or people who have affordability issues with the way healthcare is going at the moment, as we can see, where here in the UK, for example, we have a system which is essentially free, although we do pay for it via our taxes in some capacity. A lot more people are moving across to private healthcare, and this includes things like remote care, where I mean by this is people are able to log in to an app via their private healthcare company, or indeed just downloading free doctor apps these days and being able to pay for a subscription service rather than waiting on your local GP. So more and more this is going to come out in the next few years as it develops continuously. We saw a catalyst in 2020, as we know full well what was going on there. A lot more people needed medical help. I, for one, have private healthcare, fortunately, and I do have access to an app called Babylon, supplied by Bupa here in the UK, where I can speak to a doctor pretty much 24/7, including physios as well, and I can get a referral within a few hours for even an appointment, even the next day or the day after, for physio treatment, stuff like that. And this is why a lot of people are moving towards this, the actual cost effectiveness, but also the ability for doctors across the world to really engage with people, even on the other side of the world, to get medical care. And you'll find a lot of doctors leaving their practices, going to these remote solutions. And this is, of course, something that Solve provides, but they also provide so much more than this. In terms of like the tokenomics aspect, it covers all these kind of things here on the right hand side. In terms of transportation, for example, the payment of transportations for you being picked up, taken to the hospital or to your appointment, things like this. And all this aspect here of DIDs, identity, your medical records on potential blockchain mechanisms. And I, for one, am for that, because if you have that and you're on a worldwide interoperable system, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can get access to healthcare. And the fact that all your data and information is available to anyone that needs it. And you never know when you might be in a serious situation that you might need your information instantly. And it's verified and down to you, obviously, from a security perspective, know your customer as to whether your data is used or not. So there's loads of multitude of things in reasoning why I was so interested in solve.care. Of course, there's a few other blockchains out there that do cover this kind of spectrum of blockchain solution. But I wanted to make this point clear here. They make it very apparent. It's very interesting. The global remote patient monitoring devices market size is expected to grow to $101 billion by 2028. This is phenomenal. This is an absolute obscene amount of money. And of course, healthcare is huge with this anyway. We're talking about like trillions of dollars potentially in the healthcare market where blockchain can tap into. But what's mainly the point here is about the remote patient monitoring. The point I just made about how easy it is to access this. And actually I remember someone in the comments a long time ago put that actually they never thought about this concept. They live in rural areas in New Zealand, and it takes them over 2 hours to get to their local doctor's surgery. Can you imagine if there was an emergency or an issue or you had to go and do that? The time wasted, the cost, the potential time of your health and your life depends on those 2 hours potentially. And the fact that actually with the internet, especially, you think of like Starlink up there in the sky now, this ability of remote connectivity wherever you are, but more importantly, the connectivity to healthcare And this is the beautiful thing about this, why it puts a smile on my face, because it's creating equality around the world. People who haven't been able to access medical care and perhaps have the ability to pay for it in a very low cost effective fashion, utilizing blockchain and cryptocurrencies to pay for it and to get medical care within 15 minutes, an hour. More and more doctors will practice this aspect and go onto these kind of platforms. I smile because I think this is a great thing for humanity, for healthcare and our health in general. And Solve is one of those big solutions out there. Yes, there are others. I mean, we can search all day long for some of the others. If you go on like CryptoSlate under the assets section, you can search by sector. It's a really cool website. And there's loads of them for health. And of course, like the major blockchains out there will be developing their own systems, of course. But you do need these kind of like independent ones to work alongside as well, to create these solutions that are working in the background before the big ones do do that themselves. So I think this is a really interesting project. Like I said, I'm not going to go into a gigantic detail. I just wanted to give a top line reminder of why I'm so excited about this project. And yeah, do check out the intro video that we did. So this for me is one of the little hidden gems, particularly for the healthcare sector. And I do think as well, this big point here, employers. Well, imagine these companies, how much they spend on private healthcare benefits and things like this. They can actually offer their employers, credit or systems within this kind of platform. I think it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity and really interesting, avenues that this can go down as well. So that's a bit of a top line. Let's jump into the chart, because then we're going to a bit of a reasoning why I'm accumulating more at this current stage and this point in time. So as you can see, we're floating down at this moment in time around the 3 cent mark. If those were with my channel ages ago, you remember this big jump up that we had here to around 60 cents. This rose from about 10 cents to around 60. This was all about a big announcement at the time. Everyone was thinking, oh my god, it's a partnership with Apple and this, that and the other. It was actually a big ECG thing, a really cool heart monitoring service. So there's a load of rumors going on, and then the rumors obviously came to their end because the announcement came out, and then we obviously had the big drop down. I made some big advantages on this take up, but I want to make this clear. Solve could be one of those tokens. I wouldn't call it pump and dump. I think it's just people's excitement around it, and because the volumes are so low, it's a really quick turnaround to make this price jump up high. And there's a couple of things I want to point out here. The lowest regions where we're touching about right now weren't seen since June last year, okay? If another announcement comes out or another teaser announcement comes out, you might expect, maybe not so much this one, because I think a lot of people learned their lesson here, but you might see some bigger jump ups, as these things come out. As I said, the volumes are so low. If all it takes is some big chunks of money coming in at one hit, and it will fly up. This is exactly what happened here. Look at the trade volumes on the left-hand top side here, but averaging sort of between 75 and 250, 260. But then look at this. When the announcement sort of came out as a teaser, 4.5 million, 6 million, and up and up and up. And then, of course, the tail down was not actually as big, but it took some time, to be fair, to come back down to these lower regions. Even back at these low points at 6 cents, it still didn't match where we are today. So a couple of pointers is around this messaging of the potential opportunity that big announcements come. This could fly up significantly quickly at any time. But more importantly for me, in the historic aspect, reaching these price points back to where we are today do match last year, pretty much around the same sort of time. So in my mind, we're at the bottom, guys. And we've tested that area a few times already. I'm not saying we're not going to come down low, because there are other factors going on at the moment. But I do think the holders of Solve, like myself, are pretty much like in the similar boat, like the videos we cover with Multivac. I know its capabilities, Solve. I'm really happy to be holding it and accumulating it, especially around these regions. I did actually buy back in some when it hit under 3 cents, but even right now, I'm happy to be doing so. We'll go into the indicators in a second to prove that point. But for me, it's a lower risk if it does come down lower to say like 1 cent potentially. If the world goes into complete absolute chaos, more so than it already is now, I wouldn't be too angry. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, there are opportunities for this thing to rise up and down quite quickly at significant periods of time. So here we see we're trying to get support at this 2.7 cent mark, and so far it's been dragging itself back up to 3 cents. It's almost like we want to try and attempt this area more so on a repetitive pattern of time. So we've had this come down here to 2.2 cents again, which is something, as I said, we haven't seen such a long time. And it's almost rejected that pretty much. So I would anticipate that we might have a bit of a drop back down, potentially to around that 2.8, 2.9 cent mark. A good grabbing opportunity, but like I said, it's not significantly different to where it is now. There are a lot of big day traders in Solve for sure, operating on 4-hour charts, 1-hour charts, because it does generally move quite a bit in those areas. But in the overall picture and the overall spectrum, especially with this big drop down here from 7 cents all the way down to 2, it is really in a prime position. That's why I wanted to do this video, because I wanted to have a quick reminder of Solve, and I have a quick mention about where we are position wise with this. And you can see that on the right hand side here as well, 31% up on the week, which is absolutely brilliant. There aren't many projects that can boast that in a week's performance at this current stage. The 1 month is still a bit low in my opinion. I think we need to, that will obviously drag back slowly as time goes by, but for sure the 3 month and the 6 months are actually quite low compared to a lot of the other project assets out there. So it's really interesting to see this. A lot of other projects are still like 80+% on the 3 month, and even on the 6 months near enough to 90%. So it's really interesting time for Solve as an investor in my opinion. And I'm looking at these indicators at the low here on the page. Now the RSI is relatively high, it's in the middle ground. So right now I'm not going to be accumulating just yet. I'm going to be waiting for that to dip down a bit more, but the MACD is looking really strong here in the background. So we had a switch over here on the 21st of June this year, a bit of an uptake, and now it's narrowing. So what I'm anticipating is some sideways movements here, a testing, as I mentioned, of that sort of 2.7 and 3.2 cent mark. Not so like a short-term period. I think this will happen for some time, unless some big announcements come out, of course. But also on that 28 days at 44 now. So actually I wouldn't be massively angry about investing into this right now. And if you're new to Solve, these areas are quite good, to be fair, especially on the 28 day. If you're looking for like a month turnaround, or even on that 90 day or beyond, I do think these are good accumulation areas. But for me, because I trade Solve quite a lot, I always looking at that 14 day, and I'm at the 50 mark, I'm sort of thinking, well, I've done my business around that sort of 38 RSI and lower. I'm going to see some good upturn as I am now, but yeah, on a longer term, for sure, if you're new or you're looking at the longer term patterns rather than what I'm doing with it, you are in an advantageous position right now to be thinking about coming into this, in my opinion. Of course, it's not financial advice. I'm just suggesting my opinion and what I'm doing right now, and what I would be doing if I was on the other side of the coin and new to Solve. So that's a few interesting points to recognize there. And of course, on the buyout and the sellout chart, you can clearly see here there was a bit of a downturn, but it was so insignificant. We pretty much immediately came back up in an upward trajectory, and we're now on this steady pattern. And I think a lot of the markets like this at the moment, it's testing the limbo ground. What's next for the macro events around the world, what's going on in finances around the world, and even in our own finances. I think people have just been very savvy and very picky with their investments and what they, areas of where they should be jumping in. And I do think people are waiting for that Bitcoin to drop down to 15, 12K or something like this. And that would potentially anticipate all these other projects pulling down even more. So people are DCAing in a very constructive manner, like I am. But Solve for me is just a really interesting project, really exciting project. But also, I have like a bag of Solve that I'm just not touching, and I have a bag of Solve that I'm not necessarily mess about, because I think that's a inconsiderate word to use when it comes to trading. It's more of like a testing ground for me, and that's to be fair, with Solve was one of the key assets that I learned a lot about trading patterns and how to analyze better and make a game out of it, almost in that aspect. not huge amounts, just to test the ground basically. So that's pretty much my thoughts on Solve. Let us know in the comments below if you've been holding Solve for some time like I have been, or if you're new to it or you haven't heard of this before. Do go check out the intro video. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about the healthcare market with blockchain, and particularly with Solve's technology and solution capabilities. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll indeed see you in the next Solve update video. Take care and bye bye.